Hello everyone, Sam from the VXR collection. Right, today we're going to hopefully be retrofitting the much loved AFL headlights, depending on opinion, into the auto hatchback, Vectra that is. So, hasn't got them as standard. I've got a few options, but I'm hoping to retrofit into it, but it's sort of been a long-term project for this one. So you may have remembered from previous videos that I mentioned that I was selling it. There was a bit of a drama regarding the potential buyer for it, which never worked out. So decided to bite the bullet, and in my opinion it's a good move. I've decided to keep it, so it's no longer for sale, and basically do all the jobs that I wanted to do to it that never got round to before the Insignia come about. However, the Insignia is near enough done now, except a few TPMS dramas which keep continuing. Joys of old battery-powered bloody tyre pressure and monitoring systems. But yeah, that aside, I'm going to get the old headlights out, and then hopefully just basically place the AFLs inside, and you can see the difference between standard Xenons and AFL headlights. There is a slight difference in them, for sort of the anoraks amongst the group and amongst the viewers, but yeah, it just makes the estate and the hatch more alike. And then hopefully later on in maybe this year, maybe next, depending if I find all the bits, I hope to install Park Pilot on it as well, so then the estate and the hatchback will be of same spec, which will be just aesthetically nicer to look at, being that they are, you know, hatch and estate of same colour, same spec. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so here's the auto hatch that we know. Private registration will be going back on it soon as well, so then you'll have 51 and 52 again. So these are the standard Xenons. You'll see by the bezel around the dip being smaller, and also for the, you know, for between the two, the indicator that runs up the side of the headlight on AFLs is like a long strip as well. So the AFLs that I managed to source for these, I had some real troubles finding some black tint AFLs. So I managed to source some chrome ones from a 2007 Elite spec Vectra, which I've then disassembled and painted the relevant sections black. So it's not perfect for those, you know, who really want to nitpick, but by all means it's the closest available ones I could find and make, if you will. So, you know, from visually, it will be close, don't get me wrong, but I'm happy with it. So yeah, what we're going to do now is going to pull the bumper off, pull the headlights out, put the new headlights in, and then you'll see the difference between the two. I'll do one, click the bumper back on, and you can see what we're looking at, differences between Xenon and AFL. So yeah, we'll get the bumper off, and you can see for yourself. Okay, so that's the bumper removed. So on the Vectras, pretty simple regarding getting the bumper removal. So you've got usually torque screws here and here, the sequence of torque screws across the top, another 2 down the side, and then you have, usually depending on the age, some had bolts, 99% of them had clips, but however I know the early ones had a nut and bolt underneath which hold the 4 locating holes to the underneath. That's basically the front of the subframe. So once you remove that, remember to unplug your external temperature sensor, which sits in the lower grille. You can leave the screen wash pipe disconnected if you're just literally moving it out of the way. So sorry, leave it connected. So if you disconnect it, it just dumps all the screen wash all over the floor. Obviously you can get a bit of chewing gum or something just to block up the hole on the pipe. It does have a quick release clip on there, but you know, quick release on a 15-year-old motor or whatever it is now, not really quick anymore. So yeah, I'll just pull the bumper to one side, and then you've got access to all the retaining bolts for the headlights. So if everything's intact, you'll have one at the top, one on the front slam panel, and then you'll have one on the corner, and that's all that holds these in place. And then you've got a big block connector which has got a red top. Storm's come to join us. Where are you off to, mate? Casually walking past. So yeah, pull the big block connector out and then your headlights come out. Same on both sides. So that's what our next task is. Okay, so I've just put the offside AFL in there for demonstration purposes. Obviously at this point the lens still hasn't been polished, so it does look a bit cloudy, but not horrific. So just simply bolt it in. I've not done anything with the wiring yet, but that's yet to come. So you can see there's a few marks on the lens. It's a bit rough, as you can hear. But I'm sure we'll polish up well. So as said earlier, there's a few variations between the AFL and the standard Xenon. So the dip beam obviously turns when you corner, as well as the cornering bulb which comes on when you turn as well, so it helps illumination around corners. And then the indicator strip is this long section here compared to on the standard Xenon, which is lower down, and you can see the dip beam is slightly smaller as well. So there's not a lot in it, but for those that do know will appreciate how difficult these are to get hold of now. So okay, so that's both AFL headlights provisionally just bolted in and plugged in on the standard non-converted looms. So as you can see, all the bulbs work, which is good. The only ones that won't work at the minute will be the cornering ones, and then the actual motors inside the dip beam, which then twist depending on the corner, because obviously the program isn't set up for it yet, so they will be miles out of alignment. But regarding the actual standard headlights which I obtained, this is the first time I've tested them, so pleased that they actually work, which is always a benefit when you've done all the painting and stripping and really re-siliconing and you name it. So what I'm going to do now is pull them back off, because they've both got headlight brackets which are damaged, so I need to cut out the damaged section and put the repair kits on, so at least all the brackets are there fitted. I'll probably give it another coat of Tiger Seal around the seam. Obviously it's not the prettiest job in the world, apologies for the focus, but it will give it its best chance of staying sealed. But this is highly unlikely to be used in wet weather anyway, so the chances of them actually steaming up are very, very slim. But once it's all done and fitted, I hope to get my guy from CN Detailing back round who done the previous headlight restoration, to which he can then polish up, wet and dry sand and polish, and then I'm hoping these will come up very, very well. So yeah, right, let's get cracking. Welcome back to the channel. Had the headlights polished today, they come up very nice. So left hand one, lens is lovely and clear, and there's the right hand one. So they've come up a lot better than I thought they would. So once installed, they should really look the part. So probably going to run another bead of sealant or tiger seal, which I've got, over it once I've done all the wiring stuff. But whilst that first main seal is now dry, I can then obviously move the headlights in and out as willy-nilly, so I can do the rest of the conversion on the wiring loom, which I'm now going to try and do as much as I can and best I can to show you what you need to do. So on the headlight harnesses themselves, they are numbered, believe it or not, and like these, you can imagine they're a bit dusty and crusty by now. But on both drivers and passenger side headlights, or headlight harnesses, you're looking for free port number 9. So on currently at the passenger side, and port number 9, I'm hoping the camera will focus. Probably not, no my luck. It's this very end one. It is numbered in sequence. So there is a white bung inside there, which obviously where this didn't have AFLs of standard, they've capped it off. So number 9 on the drivers, sorry, on the passengers, and number 9 on the drivers. So if you lift the plug up, 10 is near enough where my thumb is, so the big brown wire. So it goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and then 6 is the very thin black wire at the end. So as you can see, number 9 is also blanked with a white cap. So both these caps need to be picked out with either a pick or a very thin flathead screwdriver, which will then give you access to the port where the pin will need to be. Now what I've done, I've managed to source a section of headlight loom from an Astra H that was breaking locally. So I've managed to go down there and just simply lob off the headlight loom. So then there's a blue grommet in the back of the wires, which I've managed to get out with a pick. Simply pull the rubber grommet towards you, which will then slide down the wire. And if you get a very thin flathead or a pick, you can then see the channels above and beyond sort of the metal teeth, if you will. So simply slide it down there, which will then push the recess of the grip against the little black plastic housing, and then each side. And then if you wiggle it around a bit so it's nice and free, you can literally just simply pull the wire out of the harness and then end up with 2 wires like this, which is what I've got. So what I'm going to be doing is pulling those white bungs out of each headlight harness and then feeding these into the relevant number 9 sections. So then it will be a complete loom plus these 2 loose additional wires. So that's one of the tiny white bungs out. So I'll just show you what I've done. So this is obviously the new wire that we've just installed. So now if you look into the driver's harness, you'll see it's a complete set of metal tags, which will then connect to the, I suppose, male side of the plug on the AFL headlight. So what I needed to do, you've got to be careful, there's inside the plug either side of where these metal connectors are, you'll see the light just shining through where my finger is now moving about there, and on the other side there is prongs for a clamp, which is here, that basically retains all the wires into the plug itself. You need to basically be very careful and squeeze the tabs together, and then this clamp will release, Not a lot, admittedly, but it's enough so you can force it back by about 3-4 mil, and then just leave it off to one side, which is then enough to A, release the white grommet from the plug, and B, enough to allow you to put the metal connector within the housing, slide it all the way down, and then you can basically force the blue grommet, which then pinches the white in there, and once you put the clamp back on top, that wire is not going anywhere. So it's how it should look if you had AFLs from the factory. So we're just going to do this to the passenger side now. So that's both headlight harnesses installed. This one's a little on the wonk, but I will straighten that out. So apologies for the camera. It's slightly an angle, but I'll manipulate that with the pin, sorry, with the pick, before I put everything back together. But yeah, so there we go. 2 loose additional wires. There's 1 and there's 2. Now, obviously, if you really wanted to be prim and proper about it, obviously I appreciate this is the quick way of doing it. There is the very long-winded extended way, which you can remove harnesses, which you would have to take a hell of a lot of car apart to access. But what I'm going to be doing is the easy way, which no doubt if you're lucky enough to manage to be able to source AFLs for first, then you can certainly have a go at doing yourself. So next thing we need to do is well, quite simply, battery cover off. Look, not cracked. Ooh, gold dust. So, and then in the fuse box on the left hand side, I'll take this cover off as well, and then you will see a series of male Torx bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th is at the back here. You need to undo these, and then the fuse box, the top half of the fuse box will lift up, so you basically lift this up and then you can access what's underneath. So, okay, so now we've got this additional wire in here. I just remembered on the driver's one, sorry, I keep calling it bloody drivers, passenger's one, it's a bigger block, and there's reasons for it. So this port number 6, yeah, 6 is also blanked. We need to put another wire in there as well. So that's the main feed from the fuse box. So what we're going to do now is, well, basically pull that cap out and put the wire in as well. So then you'll have 2 additional wires which you've now introduced on the passenger side harness, and then 1 on the driver's. Quite remember, so it's only the very top and very bottom bolts which actually physically come out of the fuse box. The remaining 3 have got like a washer underneath, so after you release a certain amount they physically can't come out of the box. So what I'm going to do, just to be super safe, I'm going to disconnect the battery. I have got Optom, so if anything does get a headache, it's not the end of the world, but just peace of mind if anything. So, bear with. the battery disconnectors. So in theory, this should just pull up, if memory serves me right. He says. So there's, excuse me. So this nut here, the positive feed to the fuse box, I think we're going to have to, so it's been a while since I've done it, undo the nut. I think that then releases the wire to which you can then lift up the fuse box. So I think it's a 13, so I'll do that now. Okay, so just refreshing my memory, it took a little while because I say it's been, yeah, about 2.5 years since I've done this. So yeah, the 3 blocks here. The only one you need to focus on is this very top one. You can tell it's got this 2 red sections here. There is one with 4 sections which you can see visibly as you look down on it. However, it's only the one with these 2 red visible bits on that you need. So all they are is simply pushed, fitted in. Once the fuse box is on top and bolted in, it holds everything tight in the housing down here anyway. So just simply put it towards you. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky, okay? And you'll see, well, just a mess of wires behind it. Now what I'm going to do is make it a little bit easier. So there is a Velcro taped section here which goes across all of the wiring loom itself. Now the only thing you need to focus on is, let me point it out to you, so this small black wire at the top. So you will see the thicker red and black wire underneath it, and then this smaller black wire which runs up top. This smaller black wire is the only one we need to focus on. So what we're going to do is just break into the tape section that holds the wires to the clamp or the block as well, and then segregate that wire from the rest of them. So what we'll do, bit of a fiddle, apologies, difficult. So what I've done is just simply pulled that wire around, so this is now visible in front of the rest of the harness. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to cut that wire, expose this side of it and expose the car side of it, if you will. So you'll have 2 separate ends. Then we're going to need to solder a section of loom and basically become a T-junction wire between the main harness and then the new fly loom that you're putting in. So we're going to snip that and then introduce the new wire, solder it in place, and then what we need to do is run that down to the passenger side headlight harness, which is our next step. Okay, so now on the passenger side Sam, headlight harness, you'll now have every single port full. So 9, which is this black one which I've now introduced, and number 9 on the passenger side need to be connected. So what we're going to do is cheat a little bit. So what I'm going to do is solder on a section of wire, give it a comfortable amount of room with the harness, and then run it on the inside of the slam panel. I'll probably cable tie here along the front, cable tie here, and then give it a nice amount of room on the harness. So I'll probably come down here, introduce it, and then simply cable tie the wires to it so it sits neatly, because that's going to be the communication between both the modules on the headlight, which will then allow it to turn left and right. So once we've done that, the only one we then need to do is connect this now blue wire, which is in port number 6 on the passenger side headlight, to our black wire on the main original harness. So we'll do this a bit neater so it's a little bit more easy for you guys to see, and then we'll solder everything up, put everything in place, and then see how we do. Here is my DIY loom. As you can see, it's, you know, an easy way of doing it rather than stripping the old car apart. I appreciate it looks very Heath Robinson from first view, but once everything's in place you don't see it. So everything's secure. I've fed it underneath the what's this wire for? Where'd it go? I think that's Oh, that's the crash sensor wire. So this basically pulls off the exposed threads, and then I've fed the wire underneath and pushed it back on top, so that's tight. I've cable tied it here, pushed it under here, so and then what I'll do is feed it underneath the air duct there, so it's not visible. I fed it through the crash sensor bracket, which is part of the slam panel anyway, so fed it through there underneath, cable tied at the top here, fed it back through, back round, and then met up with the loom here. So as you can see, everything is fed back on, it's taped on, and cable tied on as well, so it's nice and free, no tightness at all. And then that blue wire basically follows that red wire, and then basically goes into the red wire down there, soldered in place. That red wire is then fed up back into the bottom of the fuse box, and it's teed into the loom on the back of that plug, and then I've soldered it and then teed it back in. So that's all how it should be now. So the wiring and conversion itself is now done. So now what we need to do is put the fuse box back in the top section, upgrade the fuse from a 5 to a 10 amp, I believe, because obviously it requires more voltage for the motors to move, so it's just a safety precaution if anything. Basically reassemble at the front end, so the hands-on grubby stuff is now done, and it's now basically Opcom to program it in. So we'll rebuild and then just carry on inside. Okay, so that's the fuse box reinstated, headlights just connected but only sort of plonked in, so I want to faff around with Opcom. No doubt I'll be taking these in and out, and also I want to take them back out to reseal them properly anyway. So batteries just reconnected, and fuse box reinstated. Just need to upgrade that fuse, I'll do that in a second. But a couple of shout outs whilst I'm at this stage. James Ziggy from Vectra VXR owners, big shout out to you, my friend. Basically the headlights that I sourced had broken, put the teeth in, broken brackets on both headlights. So the driver's lower one was missing, and the passenger side main inner was broken as well. So luckily he'd got well, basically certain parts of repair kits which has worked out in my favour, and he's very kindly sent them to me, and basically I covered the postage, and he's said a favour for a favour. So top bloke. No doubt you'll see his cars at a couple of shows, which I'm going to do when we do get to that point in the year. But yeah, lovely bloke. Met him at the Vauxhall show in 2022. Yeah, what a genuine down-to-earth bloke. The bodywork on his red manual Vectra hatch is just phenomenal. So it's a real good example of a nice clean red VXR. So yeah, I look forward to seeing that again further in the year. So big shout out to you, my friend, thank you for that. So yeah, and then also to CN Detailing, who come out today to polish up the headlight lenses, and as you can see they've come up phenomenally well. No haziness or, you know, just general wear and tear. You would think, you know, first view, that they are just fantastic condition headlights. So yeah, really pleased with them. He's top bloke. He's been out to me a few times. He's done this, the Insignia P3 when I had that, which has obviously been sold and rehomed, and I appreciate a couple of the guys from the Vectra VXR owners have used him as well, and have also said great things about him. So 2 shout outs for you guys. Thank you for everything you've done. So yeah, what we'll do now, I'm going to dig out Opcom, we'll go into the car and see what's what. Hopefully we can get these coring bulbs to sit straight rather than looking all wonky-eyed, so that'll be a nice thing to sort. So yeah, we'll sort out a few bits out here and then move into the car. Okay, so here we are inside the car. As you can see, SID display's kicking off because the bumper's not connected, so I've got bulb out failure, blah 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 blah. So just waiting for the slow ass laptop to wake up. Oh, there we go. So let's see how awkward it's going to be. So for those that don't have Opcom, good system. So if you just Google Opcom, there's a Opcom, I think it's UK, however I will put a link in the description for where I got it. Yeah, I've recently upgraded the software, but this Opcom unit which I have here, I've had for at least, Christ, 6, 7, if not 8 years, still going strong. 30 quid, like 30, 35 quid I think it was back then. It's no brainer, isn't it? Laptop I managed to source off a friend. He gave it free of charge. It was an old work laptop, so all he did was wipe it and then gave it to me. So yeah, really appreciative of that. So 2008 Vectra C. Now we're looking for the body control module, so I'll go body first. So okay, body control module. Now, this may have faults in it because it may have detected the headlight already, so we'll read them first and see where we are. Yeah, so it's not, so it's just for outside temperature circuit, open or high voltage. Well, it's because it's not connected, so we can live with that. Okay, so it's found something. So let's go back out this a second. So we're in body. Don't know why I didn't go to this first, to be honest. Fault codes. So we'll clear these fault codes. Good, so they've cleared. Programming. Program high-speed CAN bus configuration. Right, so it knows the headlights are there, which is good. So AFL present, yes. We've also got CDC. Electric mount not present. Programming successful. Basic position calibration. Not sure what it's doing. Program code index. Code index files found. Oh. Okay, well that's interesting. I just heard something move when we've done that, which sounded electronic. So let's go have a nose, if I can get out the car without pulling all the bloody cables out. Let's see what's happened. Let's leave the laptop there, hopefully not fall off. No, good. Sounded promising. Well, hey, look at that. So that AFL is, yeah, that's near enough straight. And that one is near enough straight. Yeah, it's straight. Very pleased with that. So we're programmed, which is absolutely brilliant. So that's fantastic news. So the car now knows it's got AFLs. So what we need to do now is basically check for fault codes. Again, I won't get back in the car because it's going to be a right faff too, I think. So I'll try and do this without yanking cables out and knocking the laptop on the floor. So got to a point now where I'm happy. The car now knows that it's got AFLs. Unfortunately, I had to take the offside headlight back out because the earth strap had come off on the cornering light, so it kept on throwing a fault code for right hand cornering light open circuit. So oh Christ, must be a bulb out. So took the headlight out and sure enough the earth wire had come off, so that now works. So we have cornering light blinding on the right hand, so that's with the wheel turn right, and if we go to the left, the heat shield rattling away, we have the left hand cornering light. So working as it should. I'm not sure about the adaptive cornering units yet, it still needs to learn those I believe, so but I'm happy. So I'm going to button it up for now, so at least I can use it, and then yeah, so that is today where we're at with the AFL retrofit. So far goes so good. So the programming side of it was nice and easy, which is a nice change. So what I'm going to do is button it up. I'll use it probably tomorrow, see how it behaves, and then I'll look at the programming again and see if there's anything else that's needed to be done. But all working as it should, so very happy. So join us again another day and you'll see what happens. So that's the whole front end all buttoned up back together. So AFL's working well. Looks the part now. Just need to get the private reg back on it. Hey everyone, welcome back. So you joined me and the lovely wife. We're going to basically show you the differences within the AFL headlight technology. So the retrofit is now being done on the Auto Hatch. So I'm going to show you once programmed, we've got no error lights on the dashboard at all. So as you can see on the dash, it's then clear, so no error messages. So usually if it's not programmed correctly, you'll get a cornering symbol for the headlight to say that it's not, something's not right. But as I've learned, you do need to upgrade that fuse from a 5 amp to either a 15 amp plus, because of the motion of the cornering motors on the headlight. It draws too much voltage, so it will blow the fuse quite quickly, as we found out. So now we've upgraded the fuse, and we've also put in a 10 amp fuse in the fuse box under the bonnet. It now works successfully. So what we're going to do now is to show you, as we travel forward, you'll see the static cornering light come on each side of the headlight, and also you'll see the adaptive dipped beam move with the wheel once the sim unit's been calibrated. So we'll just go up and down the street and you'll see left and right where we are. So if we turn left slightly, you'll see on the left hand side the static bulb comes on, and then if we go to the right, you'll see the right hand bulb come on. So as we move down the street, I appreciate it's quite well lit down here, so hopefully when we turn you'll see both dipped beam AFLs move to the right, and then the static bulb comes on, and then they'll go to the centre once you go into reverse like we're doing now. So we're just going to take it for a quick blast, and you can see obviously it follows the motion of the steering wheel, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. So regarding one of the retrofit options you can do for any Vectra, not only the VXR, it's a nice option to do. Pretty straightforward and self-explanatory once you know how, and it's also a well sought after option on these. So, and when you indicate, you'll get the relevant static cornering light come on as well. So if I indicate left now, you'll see the left hand static bulb come on, and then if you cancel it, it'll go off, and right hand, same. So I'm hoping once we get to a darker section of the road, you'll see the adaptive dip beam clearer. See the bulbs move, and also the static cornering lights come on as well. So regarding the retrofit, this has now been successful, so I'm pleased. Obviously Mrs. Burton probably doesn't care, which is standard. Try not to say anything as per usual. This is a nice change. No, don't say anything? Okay. So yeah, that pretty much concludes the AFL retrofit into a Vectra C facelift. I've never done one on a pre-facelift, so I couldn't tell you if they're any different. I should imagine it's a very similar process with the wiring conversion, etc. So thanks for watching everyone, and appreciate you subscribing and giving your comments. Obviously as we get further into the year, any more retrofit or modifications that are well sought after, or you know, matter of opinion, a nice sort of subtle upgrades I might look into. But yeah, appreciate the viewers, and catch you next time.